Hello and welcome into the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel. It is me and your guy Mike coming in and giving you the post-game analysis of tonight's big win over Michigan State. Mike, I think they played a team with a pulse tonight, wouldn't you say?
I would say they definitely played a team with a pulse. You know, when you play in games like this, you're going to get that team's best. And I say, we definitely got their best, but it is what it is.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. We got some OHIOs in the chat. Appreciate that, IO. We got to go Bucks. Yes, indeed, go Bucks. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Welcome into the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel. Please be sure to like and subscribe. We definitely appreciate that. We're going to be doing some new stuff with the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel coming up. Don't want to quite announce it yet, but it's going to be coming up, so definitely want to make sure that you are subscribed and hearing and listening to everything new that is coming to you. Mike, man, this was an interesting game at the beginning, kind of close, maybe a little shaky in some areas, you might say, but overall, Ohio State comes out, they cover 38-7. The backups get to play nearly, if not all of the fourth quarter in this one. I'm happy about that. You got Devin Brown some reps. Devin Brown got a huge rep in this game. Let's just start there. I mean, Devin Brown with the huge rep coming in for Will Howard. I thought Will Howard was going to come back in after that timeout. But Ryan Day left Devin Brown out there, and man, did he deliver a strike. Great block by Trevion Henderson and a fantastic one-handed grab by Jeremiah Smith there at the end of the first half. What were your thoughts on that play, Mike?
Man, I thought it was pretty huge for Ryan Day to trust, Devin Brown, especially with Will Howard having the opportunity to go back in there, like you said, after the timeout. But, Devin Brown, we hear about, his accuracy, with the deep ball leading receivers and stuff, and we got to see it put right on display. It was good to see, and just watching Jeremiah continue to make plays. And that's what, our coaches kept telling us all off season, just put the ball out there, give them an opportunity when you have these type of athletes like that. So I'm glad that Devin Brown was able to get that. Hopefully that builds some confidence, and, he's able to stack on those game reps.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, even later on in the game when he was getting, I think he got a drive or two. I can't remember how many, but he looked good coming in there. Looked like he was more poised. Looked like he was accurate and throwing the ball, making the good decisions. We do have to question a little bit of the decision making of one Will Howard tonight. He had the inexcusable interception. I mean, I don't know what he was seeing on that play. There were two defenders right in front of who was that? Was it Emeka Ibuka that he was throwing to? I mean, it was not a great throw at all. And then he had the dropped interception. And there was another one as well. So probably should have been 3 in this one. I mean, Mike, man, do you have some concerns about Will Howard? I like Will Howard, don't get me wrong, but 3 should have been interceptions. Just a little concerning, right?
Yeah. I mean, one was intercepted, but I mean, there were 3 other balls that definitely could have been as well. And it's concerning, and this is something that I talked about in the offseason, just, from watching film, with K-State, and everybody kept, when I would bring that point up, everybody was saying, oh, he's playing with better players. He's playing with better players. These were the things that I was worried about, just being able to go through progression, seeing the whole field, and then you're coming in a conference that's known for defense. That's something that I was worried about. I kind of want to be that fly on the wall, like when they're going through it, and like I want to hear him talk about how he processed that, and then also how like the coaches worked him through that. I mean, hopefully he can go ahead, learn from the film and not make these mistakes again. But I mean, this is what Will Howard has been majority of his career.
For sure, and I think, there against a opponent like Michigan State, obviously the game was never really, in harm's way or a concern. So you like that, but you just want to make sure that you don't see this kind of stuff happen in the big games. I mean, I'm sure there was some Buckeye fans going through it tonight because we just had Alabama completely blow out Georgia. I mean, I think they were up like what 21, 28 to nothing at the end of the first quarter.
It
Like,
was
I mean,
30 to I think it was like 30-0 because they got a safety. I was
yeah.
like, what is going on?
Yeah, they look dominant. It looked like Texas versus that team up north, if you ask me. A little bit, actually, probably more dominant.
Probably worse.
Yeah, probably more dominant than that. But we could talk about that later if people want to hear our thoughts on that. I do want to bring up though, Mike, something that he didn't have the best game in the world, but I do think he probably played the best out of all the tight ends. That being G. Scott Jr. G. Scott Jr.
Mm-hmm.
coming in, making a few grabs. I felt like he blocked well tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I saw or paid attention to his blocking, seemed like he was pushing defenders, doing a good job with that. I mean, the tight ends have been a little bit of a concern here at the beginning of the season, and I'm still not completely alleviated of that concern. But are you feeling better with G. Scott's performance tonight?
Man, I love having G. Scott out there. When I say I want, if we're going to throw the ball to our tight ends, right? Let it be the athletic tight end what G. Scott is supposed to be. He came here in here as a wide receiver. He has those wide receiver skill sets. And then also building on that frame as a tight end. And you saw what he was able to do, stiff arm in the ground, right into the dirt. It was just nasty. Getting a pancake block. And I mean, he had, I'll just say like one, where he got the little flag or whatever. But those are things that you can go ahead and clean up. I loved his aggressiveness. I loved his playmaking ability. And I mean, if you're going to throw to the tight end, I want to see it be G. Scott or Jelani Thurman. That's, to me, like you said, G. Scott is tight end one. I've been a fan of him, and I just want to see us be able to use him to his skill set and to his strengths.
Yeah, and he should be a good receiving tight end, right? I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
came in as a highly touted recruit as a wide receiver, switched over to tight end, so he should have those receiving skills. He should be able to do that. But I mean, you mentioned it, Mike, aggressiveness tonight, going for it on fourth down 4 different times. Now they went 3 for 4, so they didn't get it every single time. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ryan Day in a game where you win this by 31 points, he's out there going for it on fourth down 4 different times. I mean, what does that say to you? To me, it looks kind of like he's like, guys, you should be getting these third down conversions. Go back out there and get it. Kind of like, hey, I'm not satisfied. As we know from Ryan Day's press conference this week, he's really not satisfied with anything. But I mean, what were your thoughts on the aggressiveness going forward on fourth down 4 times tonight?
I mean, this is what we've been asking for. The fans asked for it. Everybody asked for it. Everybody said, "Hey, we're tired of watching Ryan Day clam up in situations. We should have the team again." This is an unranked game, that we're going in. I mean, for obviously, they have a whole new coaching staff. They still have to build on things. We should know our identity. We know who we are, and we should be able to go out there and play bully ball. And when we need a first down, we should have the athletes, the quarterbacks, and the O line to be able to do it. So I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. I totally agree, and I like it because I know in those big games against the big opponents, there's gonna be fourth downs we go for it in. I mean, there are gonna be opportunities on 4th and 5, 4th and 3 where you're just gonna have to get it right. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. You go in there, you get that first down, and you keep the drive alive because that's what you need. Speaking of the fourth downs, Mecca Ibuka had a fourth down. What was that? Like a 20, 30-yard touchdown catch in the game. So I mean, that was fun to see. However, Emeka did struggle a little bit. Had a few drops tonight. What were your thoughts on Emeka?
Yeah, I would say, if you're talking about yards and things like that, Emeka would probably lead in this game, but I can't call him wide receiver one this game. I have to give it to Jeremiah. Emeka had, I felt, some key drops. And here's the thing I was a little bit concerned about because it was more of Emeka taking his eyes off the ball. And I felt like he was looking for the hit And you cannot play like that. I need him to go ahead and clean that up. I know Brian Hartline's definitely going to be on him to clean that up in the film room, especially when Brian Hartline sees his head, especially on the first drop, because his head completely turned before the ball even hit his hands. That's exactly why he dropped it. So, it's easy. He's a veteran. He normally doesn't have these issues. I think it's something that he can work out. And then you saw him go ahead and finish the game strong. That's what you like to see. And then just watching the coaches have that confidence. Hey, he keeps making mistakes. But then he has a strong finish.
Yeah, he had a strong finish for sure. He was the leading receiver in this game with 96 yards.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was Jeremiah Smith that had the most yards because of that end around that he had. That was a 19-yard touchdown rush in this one. Jeremiah Smith ends it, his receiving and rushing together, 6 touches, 102 yards, and 2 touchdowns. We talked about that one-handed grab. Actually, there were 2 one-handed grabs on that drive. That was fantastic. We talked about those one-handed catches, but I mean, are we ready to say Jeremiah Smith is the best receiver in the country? We know he's the best receiver on this team the way he's been playing. Are we ready to say Jeremiah Smith, best receiver in the country, or at the very least in that conversation?
I'll say this, my guy, shout out to my guy Ryan with Best Damn Media. He's been saying that since that young man signed on the dotted line. I mean, honestly, he's been saying it before he did. All off season. He's been letting everybody know. People thought he was crazy, like calm down the hype. He's just a freshman, and he's saying, I'm telling you, this guy is it. Like I believe even Ron. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think Ron even said he's going to be better than Marv. So I mean, my guy Ron, shout out to him. He called it, and I was just sitting here. We've seen the flashes of whatever they put out of Jeremiah, but just to see it in the game and then to see it in double coverage. I mean, and it wasn't like it was an easy catch. That wasn't an easy catch. They were talking about it like they're grabbing his face mask, turning his helmet, all of this stuff. And for him to do this as a freshman, it's unbelievable. LeBron James was even out there tweeting like, bro, this is insane. It was insane. It was beautiful to watch. I loved it, man. Shout out Jeremiah Smith.
I love that we got the night game stage, right? I mean, obviously you're going up against Alabama, Georgia, which that game's still going on. I don't want you to think based on what I was saying earlier. There's some people in the chat telling me that game's still going on. I get it. I'm just saying it started really, really hot. So if you're watching this live, don't think that game.
The first half was a blowout. That is factual. That is factual.
It was. But in a night game, even though it's on Peacock, this is a game where people are going to be talking, people are going to be tweeting, there's going to be a lot of conversation, and Jeremiah Smith is going to get the highlights. People are going to be seeing how great he really is, not just in the shake and bake, not just in the catches, but as an all-around player. Because what I appreciate most about JJ Smith is, man, the blocking is on point as well. Now, does he make the best blocks every single time? No, he's a freshman, but he is willing to block. He is tough as hell, and man, he is going out there and he is trying to hit dudes. He's not afraid of the contact.
Chippy. Yeah, he was out there chippy. I loved it, and shout out to that ref because the guys, they were just one handing each other and stuff like that, bruh. And shout out to that ref because I feel like other refs would have threw a flag right there or something like that. But no, they was chippy, letting them guys play primetime game, night game. Allow the chippiness. I loved it. I like that type of stuff. And it's just good to watch this freshman go out there and be confident in himself to go out there and be that way. So
yeah, and that tells me that behind closed doors, the coaches are supremely confident in him as well, and they are preaching that confidence to him, not just by what they tell him, but also the responsibility that they're giving him. I mean, he's talking about how Emeka Ibuka's kind of like been his mentor. I think a lot of guys in this team are looking up to Jeremiah Smith and what he's able to do as such a young player and the maturity that he has, that's going to speak volumes for some of these other players that aren't playing yet. It's like, oh, that's what I got to get to. I got to get to that maturity. I got to get to that kind of work ethic. I got to do all that kind of stuff, realizing that's the bar that you have to meet. Speaking of the bars we have to meet, we didn't have a defensive player of the game last week, Mike. I think, some people are a little concerned about the way the game started. I know Ryan's in the chat. He's a little concerned with the way the game
Mm-hmm.
started, trying to figure things out. I got some stats for you. 8.6 yards per play in the first 4 drives for Michigan State. Now, they only had 1 touchdown, but in those drives, they moved the ball very well. The first one ended with a turnover on downs. The next one was a fumble. The next one, which admittedly was after a Will Howard interception, was a touchdown in one play. And then the final of the 4th drive was another fumble. I mean, you tell me, Mike, like what's your thoughts here? Do you agree it was shaky? Do you appreciate the turnovers? Like, what's your thoughts here?
I mean, you appreciate the turnovers. You definitely do, but it kind of almost felt like it was a bit of luck, right? Like we kept getting lucky. And I I'm not trying to be, negative Nancy, man, but this is a team that we want to win a national championship. This is a team that we want to be dominant. And I feel like we have guys not playing in the right positions. And I felt like we transitioned in the second half, having guys in the right positions. But then also there was some adjustments. Guys was, making plays. But I do think that Jim Knowles needs to change his philosophy on the not practicing tackling, because that was another issue for them sustaining drives. I mean, I saw several times where we could have had guys in the backfield, but we're not wrapping up right. We're not tackling right. Things like that. Even K McDonald, like, I mean, I know, his backups, it was late in the game, but he had one. And you're telling me this backup running back is just getting off and able to run 10 plus yards because of a missed tackle. I think if you want to be a hard-nosed team, a physical team, a downhill team that you need to be in the Big Ten, these guys need to be hitting.
Yeah.
That's what just brings the callous, the physical mindset just out. Like not hitting, not doing that. And then all of a sudden, I'm supposed to be this dog in just one day. Just I only get one day to be a dog. No, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. They got to figure out something in practice. I get you don't want to get you guys hurt, but you got to figure out something in practice with the way you tackle or something, so that way you can make sure these guys are practicing and getting guys down. Mike, why don't you pull up that super chat there from Sean Gardner? Biggest area of concern on both sides of the ball from both of you. OHIO to you there, Sean. I'll go first. I'll do my offense first, and then you can give your two, and then I'll get my defense. How about that, Mike? All right. My offensive biggest concern is probably the tight end still. I felt like the O-line did a good job tonight in the run blocking. Pass pro could have been a little bit better at times, but overall, like I just think we're going to need those tight ends a little bit more in the passing game at times. And, not to say they were bad tonight by any means, but I'm looking for a little bit more. We're seeing big plays. We're seeing star-studded plays from almost every single position. It's just the tight ends where it just seems to be lacking a little bit. So that's probably my biggest concern on the offensive side. What's your biggest concerns on both sides of the ball, Mike?
All right. So on the offensive side of the ball, I will say leading our wide receivers when throwing the ball downfield. I just feel like we're leaving a lot of yards and things. I just feel like we're leaving a lot of chicken on the bone, man. You ever seen somebody eat chicken wings like for their first time, bruh?
Yeah.
Or have you ever seen kids eat chicken wings for their first time? Bruh, we're leaving a lot of meat on the bone.
At the end, you're like, pass those over here. Give me the rest of that meat.
Yeah, so they be ready to throw them out, man. I'm sorry, I got kids, bro. I got two little ones, so
I
yeah,
got two little ones as well. They're
they
not
try.
quite eating chicken wings yet, but I know it's coming. I
Man,
know
yeah.
it's coming.
Oh man, I had to stop them when they went over there with the trash can. Oh no, 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 no. Yeah, that was definitely me. That was definitely me. So sorry that I got off track, but I definitely want to see that. And when you leading your wide receivers, uh, it I know that if we got these athletic guys, right, and they have this talent and they can do it, but you also leaving them susceptible to hits and things like that. I want to see us be able to lead those guys a little bit more. That's my offensive concern. And then defensive concern, linebackers, playing the right linebackers. I mean, I know we want this guy to, I know we want Sonny to be that guy, man. I just feel like he still needs to develop more. You seen Laurinaitis keeping him in there, getting those reps because he needs that. But right now, you can just tell the difference in someone who has been playing linebacker for a while versus someone who hasn't, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Sonny is going to get better, but I just feel like we need to start playing the right guys. I know that in the past we always went with the seniority stuff and things like that, giving guys chances. I just want the best guys on the field. And James Laurinaitis said, "Hey, whoever is having a better, practice or production that week or whatever, that's who I'm playing." I hope that that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's what's happening, I'm very concerned for my linebackers.
Yeah, I think was it Jim Knowles or somebody that said something like that? Like they are. I don't know if he said it or if he implied it. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but said something like they're kind of not concrete in, but they're kind of like the starters for sure, as in Cody Simon and Sonny Styles. I don't really care if Sonny Styles starts still, if he has that experience starting at safety, now starting at linebacker. I haven't seen the snap count of this game, but I want Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles to at least be getting similar, if not the same snaps in the game. One, it keeps them both fresh, and two,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to help Arvell Reese develop. And you could argue Arvell Reese. I mean, I don't know if you could argue it. Most people would say Arvell Reese has probably been playing better than Sonny Styles the last few weeks. So, I mean, I hate to say that because man, I love Sonny. I think Sonny is
Facts.
fantastic. I love what he
Same.
does off the field with his
Mm-hmm.
NIL. I mean, I like everything about Sonny Styles. But at a certain point, you got to put, like you said, the players that are performing the best, whether it's in practice, on the field, you got to be putting them on the field. I was a little concerned tonight with the 4-3 defense that they were playing. They were kind of going out there with some three linebacker sets. And, there were some people going around about it on Twitter. And I was like, man, I agree. Like, we've had these linebackers struggling, and now we're going to put an extra one in there. Like, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to come at Jim Knowles or anything like that. Obviously, he's got a plan, and he's the mad scientist genius. I'm not, but I do have to question that a little bit. What were your thoughts on the 4-3?
I'm hoping that we just out here playing vanilla, man. I really just hope that Jim knows is out here like we not showing our hand. We really don't have to. Like that's what I'm hoping. And but it just worries me sometimes when we're doing the basic stuff and can't get that. Like when we're supposed to turn it on and you know, sometimes what I would like to see is for us to just turn it on, beginning of the game, be dominant, and then if you want to go and base and stuff like that, do that. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Hey, we're kind of a little down on the defense tonight. They did only allow 7 points, so let's make sure we give them their props as well. 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 interception before the starters were taken out. So, I mean, that's fantastic. That's what you want to see out of your defense, creating havoc and getting the ball
Mhm.
back to your offense, doing a good job there. I mean, did you feel like there was enough havoc in this game? Really felt like they settled down after those first 4 drives. What'd you think?
I mean, creating havoc like Lathan Ransom punching the ball out. That's definitely
Hmm.
creating havoc. The turnover is creating havoc. Um, I think they could have done a lot more, but like I said, I'm hoping that just Jim Knowles is saving it, or that's what I'm really hoping. And as you see, we're able to kind of coast through these games so far, not having to create havoc. And to be honest, you see JTT, like I was like, oh my gosh, it's like JTT just threw the dude right back or whatever. I'm like, can you do this every play? Like, why don't you do this every play? You
Oh
can
my
create
gosh, Georgia
havoc if
just
you do
scored.
this all the time. Like, come on. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to
Hold
change the
on.
subject.
Hold
Georgia just
on.
scored though.
Hold on.
They're winning.
Are you ahead of me? Because I just put in here like,
67-yard touchdown reception to Dylan Bell, Carson
oh,
Beck.
you are ahead
That
of
was,
me.
dude, that was Lathan
Oh
Ransom-esque where he
my
just got behind the
god.
entire defense. Oh, the
Oh
girl's
my
crying.
gosh.
She's crying. Kirby Smart is screaming. It's mass chaos, mass pandemonium. 2.5 minutes left. Man, this is going to be. This is going. If Alabama loses this game, which it looks like they're about to, based on how they've played offense, this is going to be the flop of the season on
And
this one,
Kirby's
man.
going for 2. Oh my gosh.
Oh, he is going for 2.
This would definitely be a big flop for sure.
Let's
Definitely
see
be
what
a big
happens.
flop.
All right, we'll get back to Buckeyes here in just a second. I want to see what
Yeah.
happens really fast. This didn't have to turn into a
I'm
watch
sorry.
party, but here we are.
We are
Oh,
football
Carson,
fans. We're not just Buckeye fans. We are
no
football
good.
fans too.
No good. No good. All right. I just had somebody
Okay.
text me like 20 minutes ago saying Ohio State, Bama, and Texas are the top 3 teams in college football right now. That might need to be revised if Alabama doesn't score on this next drive. Shoo. All right. Well, that's your Alabama Georgia update. We'll update you more if more stuff happens. But Mike, man, last week they didn't get a defensive player of the game. All right. Jim Knowles was not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Day said he's not happy. First, do you think there's a defensive player of the game? And if there is, who is it for you? And number 2, does Ryan Day have anything to be happy about after this game? Because he said he didn't have anything to be happy about last game.
Let's see. Let's say this. I mean, it's gonna have to go to Caleb Downs, man. I felt like Caleb Downs was just all over the field. The way he was coming down, smacking people, making plays, like that's the Caleb Downs that we all been wanting to see since he was a recruit, right? So
Yep.
I mean, I love seeing what I saw out of Caleb Downs. If anything, it would be him. I felt like they kind of schemed up. Like they weren't scheming up Caleb Downs, or they kind of was like they picked at Sonny, they was picking at Iggy a lot. But I mean, Caleb Downs was just making plays and also, being that safety in the back who's just not allowing the big play, stopping it, kind of being what Jordan Fuller was doing as well. So but also I do want to say this because like you said, we were being pretty hard on the defense. Third quarter they did hold Michigan State to just 19 yards. So and I think I saw where it was just like on 11 plays.
Oh my word! Alabama just scored.
Kalen DeBoer said he got something in his bag, man. You just don't know when Jalen Milroe is going to do something dominant.
That was all Ryan Williams, the freshman wide receiver.
Oh, that was Ryan Williams.
That was all Ryan Williams. I mean, great route, terrible tackling by Georgia.
Oh my God, he just did a ballerina spin. Lord Jesus Christ!
Oh my gosh! All right, well, this looked like it wouldn't be much of a game.
Hold on, we got to talk about it right now. Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith are going to go at it week after week. I mean, who's going to get freshman of the year?
It's hard to say. I know I was kind of thinking it was between, at least in the Big Ten, Dylan Raiola and Jeremiah Smith, but then that lost to Illinois. Oh, 2-point conversion. They got it. I was kind of thinking there for a little bit, like you kind of get those two, but Dylan Raiola, he's not done so well the past couple weeks. And so I feel like Jeremiah Smith is there. And you're right, man. When it comes to freshman of the year, those two are right up there. I feel like if the numbers are close, they probably give it to Ryan Williams just because of the Bama favor and how much, they love the SEC and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
boy, both these dudes are elite, and both of these guys they're gonna be really, really good for years to come.
That draft is gonna be nasty.
Yeah. You thought Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. was an argument, which I didn't really think it was much of one, but everybody was arguing about it. So, wow, that's crazy. Oh, Sean Garner says we're ahead of him, so we'll let you know what's coming then, Sean. No worries. Or maybe you don't want that. If you don't want that, maybe just pause us for like 20 seconds.
Yeah, for sure.
Come in. All right, so my defensive player of the game, if I was going to give one, I do think after this game, you have to give a defensive player of the game. First 4 drives were a little troublesome, but you did what you had to do. You got the turnovers. You stopped them on 4th down, which, by the way, heck of a play by Cody Simon there to get over the top, and heck of a job by the defensive tackles, Ty Hamilton. I forget who the other one was that was in there, but getting that line down so Cody Simon could get over the top. I mean, that is textbook. That's how you stop a QB sneak. In this era of QB sneaks being broken, Ohio State figured out how to stop it, so good on them. But I think my defensive player of the game is going to be JT Tuimoloau, just because of how much people were kind of down on him last week. People were having a hard time thinking, should Caden Curry be starting? Well, JT comes out, he gets himself a sack. He has some pressure in this one, and to your credit about Caleb Downs, man, Caleb Downs should have had a sack in this game, but he got held by that running back Adams that we thought was coming to Ohio State for a little bit, the UMass transfer. He held Caleb Downs and kept him from that sack. So you can't go wrong. JT, Caleb Downs. Some would even say Sonny Styles. He had a sack as well. We were talking a little bit about how he needs to be splitting reps, but overall, I mean, I just think the defense much, much better after they settled in and they did what they had to do. They gave up yards in the first 4 drives, but they did what they had to do to get the stops. That's all you can really ask for.
What if I said, I think we have 2 jacks playing linebacker?
Yeah.
What would you think about that?
I'd say that's pretty accurate. Yeah. I think CJ Hicks, he got in for a little bit in this game. I think they credit him with a half sack in this one, so not a full sack, but you get in there and you start making that happen. There's only so much you can do, but no, I think that's a good point. So all right, let's talk about some coaching stuff and maybe some recruiting. We can get into that. Ryan Day, 43-0 versus unranked teams. We know that he has never lost to anybody in the Big Ten other than that team up north when they were cheating, right? They had to do that to take him down. Sure. We get that. So they've never lost to a Big Ten team that was playing by the rules, okay? But he's 43-0 against unranked teams. I mean, it's unranked teams, but to never once in your coaching career drop one. I mean, Urban Meyer dropped him, right? I mean, one of the greatest coaches that we've had here, right? I mean, he had Iowa, Purdue. I mean, both of those Virginia Tech, right? Yep. I mean, he dropped him, but Ryan Day, so consistent, always getting his guys ready to play. We could nitpick, the defense wasn't good on these drives and yada, 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 but always coming out with the win. What do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, that is what you want from your coach. And that was like one of my biggest pet peeves, always was, losing those type of games kept us out of the playoffs. That is not something that you want to see at all, from your head coach. And I love that about Ryan Day. He doesn't go ahead and look forward to the next game, because I think the Iowa game could possibly be a bigger game, right? Definitely going to be, I think, a better defense than what we faced this week. And he always just doesn't have a team looking ahead. He always makes sure that they're focused on that week. And you got to credit him, because from what we heard, the reason why we was losing to unranked teams was because we would look ahead. And, shout out to Ryan Day for always staying focused, man.
Yeah, I definitely think Ryan Day has brought a bit of not even a bit, I think a good amount of kind of like the NFL pro atmosphere to this team
Hmm.
to where he's saying, look, every single game matters. You can't look past any team. Yes, that team might be less talented than you, but guess what? You can get got just like anybody else out there. Look at this team, look at that team. And so he keeps his players very professional. He keeps them working hard and making sure they're trying to get right and do what they need to do. I mean, it would have been easy in this game, right? This was a chippy
Hmm.
game, Mike. It could have been easy to get a late hit penalty or something like that, which I think who was it on the first drive? Somebody got a late hit penalty. Was it Will? Was it Will Kazmarek?
Uh,
I
yeah,
forget who
Will
it was.
Kazmarek. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He had a late hit penalty. Didn't really see him much after that.
He was
But you know,
pulling that Max stuff, but like he got to
yeah,
understand this is the big stage. Like at Ohio State, you don't get away with that type of stuff, bro. You can get away with that stuff in the MAC or being at a smaller school and things like that, but you're not getting away with that at Ohio State.
true, true. And so, I mean, I think that, it was a chippy game. You could have easily had multiple penalties after the snap. You could have easily, I mean, it looked like Michigan State was baiting them a little bit, right? They were trying to get in their head, and Ohio State was responding. They were standing up for themselves. You
Mm-hmm.
saw JJ, you saw Mecca, you saw these guys standing up for themselves, but it never crossed the line enough, other than Will, to get that penalty. So I think, Ryan Day, he's got his players disciplined. They're doing good stuff. I mean, what'd you think of the chippiness in the game?
I love it, man. I just want the chippiness, stay under control, allow it to be chippy, but don't get nothing unnecessary, like how G Scott and the team up North game. Um, it's gonna come a time like where if here's the thing, if you're putting on film that they're gonna be chippy, these teams or whatever that we'll call the inferior teams are going to use that against you. And hey, it's a guy that might be on that team who they just might put out there to just try to get with, wrestle up with you. And guess what? They got you out the game, So definitely something you got to be smart about. So, I like the chippiness, but like I said, keep it under control.
Yeah, yeah, definitely want your guys confident. Definitely want your guys talking back. But at the end of the day, like you said, make sure you keep it under control. Let's switch gears here for a second, Mike. We got so obviously this wasn't a home game, so we don't have like a big list of
Mm-hmm.
recruits that visited or anything like that. However, the one recruit that did visit last week was Chaz Coleman. Chaz Coleman has not got that offer yet, defensive lineman, and there are some thoughts out there that he might be the last piece of this defensive line class if Ohio State cannot flip a Justin Hill, a Malik Autry, guys like that. I mean, what are your thoughts on Chaz Coleman? Do you think they should offer him? You think this is somebody you should kind of maybe give up on Justin Hill, give up on Malik Autry? I mean, just standard general recruiting talk. What are your thoughts?
Where is Chaz Coleman from?
I forget where, I think he's from Ohio, isn't he? I got to
Here's
look it
my
up for sure.
Yeah, if he's from Ohio, here's my stance.
Yeah, Warren G. Harding. Yeah,
Take
Warren, Ohio.
the Ohio guys. That is always my stance. Take the Ohio guys.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we won a national championship, majority of our roster has the Ohio guys, the dogs. All you hear when you hear Arvell Reese out there, pad smacking. I like the Ohio guys. Now, do they take a little bit of time to develop? Yeah, but I like the Ohio guys, and when you're going forward with the 105-man roster, he's one of the guys that we should be getting. I don't understand why we're waiting to offer a guy like this. When you got a guy like, I'm gonna keep talking about it until he gets offered and he flips. The guy who went to Purdue, Galloway.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no reason he should not be in this class. It makes no
Mm-hmm.
sense. You're going to a 105-man roster and you're telling me that you can't use that speed and then develop whatever you have to develop? You can't use that speed? There's
Yeah.
not that many people out here who have speed like that.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, the last person who had some speed and went to Purdue, they cooked us.
Purdue's had a number of guys with some speed that's cooked a lot of people. But I hear what you're saying, man. Yeah, Dwayne Galloway out of Ohio, the cornerback who's committed to Purdue. I know he was a little upset he didn't get that offer. He
You
is a
should
bit
be.
undersized, and that's something that you always got to deal with. But I agree. I think sometimes, especially with the Ohio guys, you can't be too picky with the size stuff, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if these are Ohio guys, these are guys that are going to come in, they're going to add to the culture, and you know what? Put them on punt return, put them on kick return, give them a special teams role and tell them, hey man, it's going to be hard for you to see the field as a corner because of your size, but you know one way you can impact things because of your speed, you can get out there on punt return, you can get out there on kick return, treat it like an interception, right? Go crazy. I think Chris Drew is the one that talks about it all the time where like, it's kind of mass chaos when you're taking a punt back and you're taking a kickback, and that's basically what it is on an interception return. So you're
Yeah.
already practicing that stuff. I completely agree. Chaz Coleman, he has some good offers out there. I mean, I'm not going to say that he has like the Alabamas or the Georgias, but Penn
Mm-hmm.
State is offering him. Kentucky, Illinois, Purdue. I mean, most of these schools that recruit Ohio outside of, and this is what I'm talking about, Chaz Coleman. Sorry if I forgot to mention his name. He has a number of good offers out there. Now the rest of them are kind of MAC schools, Youngtown State, stuff like that. But still, like this is a kid I think you offer. And you know what? If you still want Justin Hill and Malik Autry, they shouldn't be afraid of Chaz Coleman. If they are that confident in themselves, they should be able to say, doesn't matter who you have in your class, I'm still, the dog, I'm still your alpha player type of guy. Doesn't matter if you just signed a 3-star. So I completely agree. You got to go for Chaz Coleman. You got to get him in this class and really help out that defensive line there. So,
How
all right.
how
Any other thoughts on recruiting or coaches or anything, Mike?
how tall is Galloway?
I'll look at. I think he was 5'11" from what I
And how tall is
remember.
Denzel Ward?
That's true. That's true.
This is what I'm saying, man. It's like, are you telling me right now that a Denzel Ward would not play at Ohio State right now?
Uh huh.
That is great. This is what I'm saying. Like, we talk about developed here, BIA, all of this stuff. I don't understand how when I sit here and I look at it, and then I'll say this: you have a guy named a former Buckeye or whatever, LaCharles Bentley, who said it. He was like, I wouldn't be able to play on this Buckeyes team. Are you serious? This. I think Ohio is just so disrespected when it comes to football, and I think it's completely misunderstood. And they're not really giving these guys the chance that they deserve, because when you go and you look at the NFL and you actually you have your Californians, you have your Texas or whatever, you have all of these states who have a higher population than Ohio. But then guess who's right under them? Ohio. You see what Travis Kelce is doing, but he had to go to Cincinnati. Come on, man. Come
Yep.
on.
Yep, man, I agree. I agree. Like I said, the height stuff is one thing that I understand they look at, but man, you make a great point, Denzel Ward, and there are tons of guys that you can get and develop and do a good job with. And at the end of the day, if they're a crazy athlete, if they got that speed, you can find a spot. Like I said, punt return, kick return, something. Find a spot for them on the team. They got an ability. They got something that is crazy good. Let them work and let them try to get into it. With whatever they can do. So I totally agree. And like I said, more Ohio guys. Greg is saying in the chat too, more Ohio guys you love to see when
Yep.
those guys get in the program and do their thing. All right, round the Big Ten, we got Alabama, Georgia going down to the wire, but these last minutes of the game are always going to take a lot of time. But let's talk about around the Big Ten a little bit. Mike, did you get a chance to catch Indiana, Maryland? Indiana 5-0, they're looking pretty good. What do you
Man.
think?
Will we see this, man? Indiana got no losses. Rutgers got no losses. I mean, yeah, Indiana looks good, and their quarterback has been on fire all season long.
Mm-hmm.
And, Indiana having an offense. We haven't really seen them have an offense since, I guess you could say, Michael Penix. I was about to go back and say, like, Kevin Wilson days, but, I mean, if you want to say it, it could be Kevin Wilson. But I mean, it really looks good what's going on over there at Indiana, man. It looks like they're building something good. And you know, it's just, to me, I just laugh. It's funny because when people be like, oh, y'all playing the Big Ten, y'all play the Indianas of the world and the Rutgers of the world. And it's like, look at them, man. Look
Mm-hmm.
at them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, right now, you can't argue with what they're doing. And then, especially with no divisions, I'll say this: those teams that was playing in that Big Ten East, they might be liking this no divisions and getting to play some of those Big Ten West teams more.
Man, I totally agree. And like to Michigan State's credit, I know they got blown out tonight, 38-7, but
Mm-hmm.
Aiden Childs is a dude, man. I mean, he does have a lot of raw skills and raw abilities that I think once he harnesses those and once he plays a little bit more under control, and his mind gets to processing things a little bit quicker, I think he's going to be really, really good. Alabama just got the pick in the end zone,
I
secured the
just saw it.
victory. Yeah, secured the victory. And this one, what do you think? You think Alabama is going to be ranked over Ohio State in the next polls? You think Ohio State ranks goes up to 2? What do you think?
I think what Texas will probably be. Nah, they might put Bama one or
I think they're
Texas
going to put
one.
Bama 1. I think they're
They
going to put
they
Bama
they
1.
might do that and then put then they'll put Texas 2. So Bama and Texas 1 or 2. Then it'll be Ohio State. And I don't think that they're gonna drop UGA below 4. I think UGA will go right to 4.
Do you think that they would put Georgia 3 and Ohio State 4?
I think that's a possibility too. I
Yeah.
know the AP poll don't like Ohio State. I always
Mm-hmm.
say screw the AP poll. I've seen the bias in it whenever they do show the list and everything. It's ridiculous. And to be honest, most of these people don't even watch the games. They just going, oh, I hear the SEC is better. Everybody says the SEC is better, so I'm going to put them ahead. I mean, it just is what it is. And everybody talks about, oh, we got to go through this hard schedule and all of this. But I mean, I remember Lane Kiffin was talking crap in the offseason, and Ole Miss had better this and better that. But then Kentucky pops up with
Yeah.
Ohio players.
With Ohio players. You are correct. You are correct. Yeah, I tell you, I hate to say it, but I would not be surprised at all if Georgia's 3, Alabama 1, Texas 2. I know I'm completely out of order here, but Ohio State 4, because and I know it's stupid and I hate to respond to it on Twitter because I know these dudes are doing it just to get attention, but the Danny Cannells, the Desmond Howards of the world that's going out there and being like, "Oh, Ohio State hasn't played anybody, yada yada yada." It's so stupid. It is so ridiculous. I mean, have they not played anybody? Yes. However, what was all the talk going into the season from the offseason? Has Ohio State shown anything to show that they aren't like that, right? I mean, Georgia was down to the wire with Kentucky, a team that is essentially the same team as Michigan State. If you ask me, those are very similar skill level teams in my mind, and they're still gonna be just fine in the rankings. Like I said, probably gonna be ahead of Ohio State. And these next ones, I just think these AP voters, these AP pollers, they listen to this stuff by Desmond. They listen to this stuff by Danny Cannell, and they're like, "Oh, maybe they got a point," and they're gonna be like, "Oh, Ohio State, they got to face somebody."
Here's the thing that I don't understand when they talk about this, and then the whole like strength of schedule stuff, because for some reason that late FCS or G5 game that they play, them SEC teams like to play before they rivalry game. Why don't that count against them or whatever when you want to talk about schedules? Because last time I checked, Ohio State plays 9P4 teams. And for years, Ohio State has been playing 10P5 teams. But guess what? Playing 10P5 teams hurt Ohio State, losing to OU. Playing 10P5 teams as hurt Ohio State when you add that extra Iowa game in or Purdue game in, right? Now we're playing the same amount of P4 games as Bama, as all of these other SEC teams that they tell us is great. And somehow it's an issue. It makes no sense. Wow, because ours 3 we get out the way and we don't put a cupcake or whatever on the back end of our schedule going into our rivalry game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. And everybody who feeds into it, you're a casual. I'm sorry, but I got to put it out there. You are a casual, and I'm sorry I had to do it because these talking figureheads, they're doing nothing but clickbait. And I'm giving y'all the real. Look at everybody's schedule. Most teams play 9 P4 teams. I remember Purdue played, I think, like 11 P4 teams one time. And they didn't even have and then somehow they didn't even have a harder schedule. Come on now, like make it make sense. And you can sit here and say, we heard the team up north fans talk about Fresno's the best G5 team in the country. We seen what just happened to them. I'm not trying to hear that. I don't want to hear about how great these G5 teams are. They're G5 teams. They're our cupcakes. They're all equal to me. You should beat them. Yep. You should. You have the resources. You're paying them to beat them.
Yep. And of course, Ohio State finally plays a good team, and not finally. I mean, they've been playing good teams in the out of conference, but I'm saying played a good team early. And Notre Dame, what was it? The very first game a couple years ago, and then Notre Dame goes out and they flop and lose to Marshall that year. The very next time, it's like, come on, man! Georgia struggled against UK or against Kentucky, right? And you're like, okay, Kentucky's fraudulent. We all know Kentucky's not a very good football team. But then you have fraudulent Ole Miss led by Lane Kiffin, who can't get $20 million out of his mouth. Lane, maybe you should worry about your own team and not how much another team is playing their players. But I mean, you got him going out there and losing Kentucky, and instead of, oh wow, the SEC's trash, they're fraudulent, you got people saying, look at Kentucky, Kentucky's so good. It's ridiculous. It's completely idiotic. I'm sorry, I don't like to call people morons or idiots, but I gotta call it like it is, man. Yeah, it is completely idiotic to go out there and be like, oh, Kentucky beat the number 7 team in the nation who didn't do anything to earn that spot other than Lane Kiffin has a loud mouth, right? And he plays in the SEC, which we all know is not actually as good of a conference all around. Yes, they have the top tier teams all around. It's not nearly as good of a conference as people make him out to be. And so yeah, that's where I'm at, man. And of course, we don't have Michigan helping us any in this one because they're out here almost losing to Minnesota. All right.
Oh my God, bro.
Let's talk about that. All right. Listen, I got a stat for you, Mike. Okay. Arkansas State 21-3 at halftime. They win 28-18. USC 14-3 at halftime. They win 27-24. Minnesota 21-3 at halftime. They win 27-24. This team has managed to give up, how much is that? 21, 21, and 15. That's quick math. 57 points. They've managed to give up 57 points in the second half the past 3 games, and they themselves have only scored more math, not that much, probably about half of that. I'll do the math later on here in a minute, but I mean, that team up north, they're falling apart in the second half. Man, are they fraudulent? I mean, what's your thoughts?
I mean, if you want me to be honest, it kind of looks like the team up north before 2021, because you said they haven't really had anything in the second half for the past 3 games. Well, the past 3 years, they were the best second half team in the country. I mean, their fans told us it was going to be status quo. They running the basically trying to run the same playbook and have Orgy think he's JJ McCarthy sometimes. I mean, is it not supposed to be different? I mean, I thought it would look the same. Y'all supposed to be trenches, supposed to have the best O-line, Joe Moore, all of this things. They fraudulent, man. I've been saying this, and I think that it's crazy. Like I said, these figureheads who want to say that this game is a game of luck, a game of inches, the ball has to bounce your way so much and want to say that things didn't have an impact on the game, bruh. Don't ever say, if you want to say that certain things don't have an impact on the game, don't ever let me hear you say that the game is about inches, the game is about luck and the ball bouncing your way. They're fraudulent. This is exactly what I expected. They don't have a quarterback. It looks very difficult for them. And to be honest, yeah, you put the W in the win column, but sometimes I'm sitting here looking at these coaches that's going up against them, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like you bring up the Arkansas State game, and I'm like, why are you not being like, what are you doing here? Why are you not being more aggressive? Why are you being scared when you have nothing to lose? Like, and you have momentum. It makes no sense. I have no idea how these coaches that coach against them out coach themselves. And I seen on a couple of post games, this is why I'm a big component of don't ever leave the game in the hands of the refs or allow them to, because I mean, you heard multiple people sit here and say, I mean, they was even saying it during the game, I cannot believe that they called that offside. I was seeing like the tweets of it, and
Mike Pereira said it himself. The rules analyst, he was like, "That's not offsides." Of course, Joel Klatt, he disagreed. He was like, "Oh, I think that's offsides," but we know how Joel Klatt rolls now.
Oh, don't even get me started. That was it's very, very I like Gus Johnson. I love the energy he brings, the vibes that he brings to the game, but it's becoming very, very hard to watch a Fox broadcast now. And I used to enjoy it because it's like, Joe, you clearly see and you still arguing stuff. Like the stuff that he was arguing. I think, and here's the sad part. Gus is the team up north, man.
Yep.
And he's the one calling it out and trying to help Joe, correct Joe. Like, no, Joe, you wrong, bro. Like, come on, why does Gus have to do that?
I will say, I love me some Gus, but man, I forget what the nickname was. He gave Khalil Mullins, linebacker that's a running back that just is the luckiest dude in the world. He gave him a nickname, but not J.J. Smith. You're not going to give J.J. Smith, best freshman in the country, you're not going to give him a nickname, but you're going to go out there and give Khalil Mullins a nickname? Like, come on, Gus, get out of here, dude.
He just waiting. He just waiting.
Yeah. Maybe he's not creative enough yet. I don't know. I was thinking JJ something. I don't know. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah. All right. Last thing, and then we'll get out of here, Mike. Unless anybody else has anything they want us to discuss. Illinois kept it close with Penn State tonight. I had my eye on that game while the Ohio State game was going on. Didn't get to see every detail of it, but Illinois was playing well. Defense was doing well. Luke Altmaier had a chance to kind of drive there at the end of the game. Threw a pick that was unfortunate for them, and Penn State scores. Makes it look like a little bit more of a lopsided game than it really was. I mean, what's your thoughts? You think this is the same old Penn State team? You think this is better? You have any thoughts on Illinois? What do you got, man?
I mean, Illinois scored their first touchdown in the first quarter, right?
Yeah, I think it was the first quarter.
Yeah. I mean, Penn State did what they were supposed to do. Defense, held them out, didn't allow them to do anything. And I will say, all I kept hearing was Penn State this on offense, Penn State that, and it's a little concerning. You get in the Big Ten play, you play a ranked opponent, and hey, I mean, but Brett Bielema, most games against him don't really get out of hand. So I mean, we even seen what was that a couple years ago when Illinois played that team up north. I think it was in
they got away with a pick on that one to win.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying. So I mean, Illinois. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised that the game is like that. They've been playing some good football. So shout out to what Brad Bielema and the Fighting Illini are doing out there.
Yeah, man. I still think Brett Bielema is a good coach. I still think he can do some things. Now, he is at Illinois. He was at Wisconsin when he was winning Big Ten championships, and Wisconsin was the better program back then. But Illinois, I mean, they got some better recruiting going on. They're doing a little bit
Mm-hmm.
better. Brett found himself an Ole Miss QB to come transfer in and do some good stuff, and Luke Altmaier. So, I mean, Illinois, I think this is a team that, as long as Brett is there, is always going to be on the verge of possibly being ranked and possibly having one of those seasons. They could also just have a bad season because of the talent that they sometimes get. Like I said, Brett does a good job of recruiting, but when you're at Illinois, it's not always great, so there can be down years here and there. But I mean, this is a team that I think is going to be a bowl team every single year, and you're going to see them pop up in the rankings every now and then. And it's going to be a tough test for Ohio State sometimes when they play them, so
Mm-hmm.
we're just going to have to watch out for that in this one. Mike, that's all I got around the Big Ten, man. Our next show is after the Iowa game. You got any thoughts before we get out of here?
No, man. Just hope we clean some things up on defense,
Mm-hmm.
man. Definitely go. Can't wait to watch the film room. You can find me at Best Damn Media or on YouTube, or you can find me on Twitter at 216_JR. Where can they find you?
Yeah, man. Find me at JR's_rankings on Twitter. Always tweeting out Ohio State stuff over there. You can also find me tomorrow night on the OHIO podcast. They have a live stream at 8 o'clock. I'll be there. And then directly after that, I have my Big Ten huddle that I do at 9 o'clock. So you can find me on there. And big news for the Big Ten huddle. We are now going to be simulcasting our live streams on the Big Ten channel here at the Voice of College Football. So if you subscribe to the Big Ten channel here at the Voice of College Football, you can find me over there as well. Go give the Big Ten Huddle a subscribe, just to help us out. But we appreciate that. Go get that content. So, Mike, I'll see you back next year, man. Iowa, October 5th, 3:30. We'll see you
Yep.
here.
We definitely will, man. OH.
Iowa.